Tino, I'm very excited to see the work you're doing for Manchester International. I came across a lovely quote that your work leaves no footprint, but now you're working with a footballer, so feet have been perhaps on your mind. How did this whole collaboration come about with Juan Mata?
I mean, it was a work I was thinking about, like in the back of my mind for a while, like in 2021, like with a violinist, an artistic cyclist, a dancer of mine, and a ball player. I didn't quite know what to do with it or how to approach it, and then Hans Ulrich called me and said that he's doing this kind of exhibition between like art and football, and then I thought, oh yeah, I have the work for that, and then I developed a section of it with Juan, but also Juan was helping me with the ball players, because trying to, like, especially the cyclists, and the artistic cycling is this kind of relatively unknown sport in the UK because it doesn't really exist here, but exists in the German-speaking countries and Japan. Like, to go to the people from the sports world to say that we want you to be part of a contemporary art or contemporary dance piece, like, it's not that easy actually. And so Han was also helping me on that.
Tell us are you going to tell us what to expect, or do we have to
I mean, we hope that people are going to come, but yes, it's kind of a quartet between these 4 people who have, like, 3 of them have a very strong and long-term relationship to a specific object, you know, like to play the violin is not easy, to really master a ball is not easy, and so kind of they're there kind of interacting like kind of a dance quartet. At the same time they're doing what they usually do, but I've also kind of altered it and made it more artificial and more dancerly, if you so wish.
Will the audience be getting involved at all?
I mean, there's always involvement if we take it, because we're talking with Studio International, you know, like it's I mean, there's always participation. When I behold a painting, that's a form of involvement, no? It's a nice word, involvement, but I think in this kind of direct interaction beyond the beholding, there's a little bit of that, but not, I mean, there's other works of mine which emphasize that aspect much more.
I loved a phrase I came across that you talk about the materiality of human interaction. And obviously, in this interview, you're talking about how that was very much affected by the pandemic. How do you feel, obviously we're much more in need of or craving that sort of interaction. Where do you feel we're at now, and how does this work respond to that?
It's a good question. Like, I'm not sure I have a good answer, but I think that what the pandemic moment is over, but what the pandemic has maybe done, and as I can say from my own life, my own experience, it has brought us closer to the screen and to what the screen has to offer. And that's become a new habit. And then it's kind of interesting to have experiences, social experiences, which are not as curated as they will be curated for you from the screen. But I also feel like with the younger generation, like I have 2 teenage kids, that they miss a little bit this kind of, because their curiosity is already fed. Their social appetite is also a little bit fed. I mean, like for YouTube, you can see into other people's lives. I mean, to other people's professional lives. If I wouldn't want to know, like, how does a journalist go about their day, you know, I could look into it. I could probably follow one of your colleagues through their day, you know, and that's fascinating. And the kids learn a lot about the world, but at the same time, they don't have to overcome social anxiety, which you always have in a situation, and you don't really get out of your bubble, because, you know, social media is feeding you exactly what it knows what you already like, you know. So I feel that's a bit of a problem. Also then politically, you know, people are more in their echo chambers, and the work is a little bit about all of that. Like, how can we kind of connect different worlds, you know, although they're not supposed to be connected or don't tend to be connected, you know.
Indeed, it's funny, we were just talking to Ryan Gander earlier, who's also one of the artists here, talking about serendipity and how picking up one of his coins, you know, it can be a serendipitous moment in anyone's interaction with the city. But many of your works have offered that wonderful serendipitous encounter. I'm thinking of that fabulous work you did in the Turbine Hall at Tate, and the storytelling and the kind of engagement that just changed every time, every minute, every time somebody encountered it. I feel that has even more value now, perhaps post-pandemic, than it might have had then. We're also going to be seeing, I guess, some gamesmanship in this work, because that's another aspect that you're really interested in, just sort of how do you choreograph a work to to maximise the quality of people's engagement with it or interaction with it.
I mean, the work, these associations, which are shown at the Turbine Hall, and then also elements of it at Blenheim Palace, that's very game structured. Like, I didn't manage or didn't try to, this work is more choreographed, didn't manage to kind of make a game structure out of it, you know, because it's not so easy to have these different, I mean, it's not, from a crafts perspective, it's not so easy to bring these people into a relation, because they're like sitting on a bike or juggling a ball is like a very different kind of activity.
But maybe it's a more mental connection because of our knowledge that to get as good as these people are at their sport, you have to put in hours of practice.
Yeah, that's something I'm interested in, and this
Yeah.
like kind of hours thing,
Yes.
10,000 hours thing. That was definitely a starting point for this piece, like 10,000 hours you put until you master something. No?
And what are you hoping people will take away from it?
I mean, like in any artwork, you know art well, so I think you hope that people take away something somewhat specific. But if we wanted to make it, that specific and precise, probably making art is not the best way to convey that. But better to give a speech or write a text or something.